60% of Latinos voted for Trump in this election. And to think that my vote was going towards protecting my people. The fact that I was absolutely horrified at the thought of Trump becoming president because of the effects that it will have on our people. I voted for those Latinos that don't have a voice in this country. For the Latinos that are the backbone of this country and don't receive shit. I voted for the Latinos that have been nothing but good people in this country, paying taxes and have no criminal records, only to find out that it's our own people turning against us. I am truly disgusted.
Man, I thought that this mass deportation thing was like just a rumor, just a joke. Now, for those of you who know me, I live out here in Houston, Texas. And like you can go down the main street, like FM 529. There's like these taco trucks up and down the street. The food is so freaking good, man. It's like I gotta eat there multiple times a week. I went down that street today. There is not one single taco stand open. Every last one of them are closed. Like 3 or 4 of them had like yellow caution tapes going around them, like do not enter. They literally closed it down. This mass deportation thing is 100% real. This is not fake at all, man. This mass deportation thing is not fake at all. This is crazy. Like when Trump was in office before, I heard him saying that he was gonna close the borders down and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. You know how every president talks. But this dude right here, he came into office swinging, man. Swinging, man. Dang. It's really, really happening, man. Like this dude came in changing some laws and putting some things into play that looks like that he is actually carrying this stuff out for real, man. Woo! Crazy work. Crazy.
I want to make some things crystal clear. This country without immigrants is about to get really, really expensive. Really expensive. Because this administration, let's break down some math for you. This administration says that they want to deport 20 million people. They want to start on day one, right now, deporting 20 million people from the United States. You know what is the estimate of how many undocumented people, the generous estimate of how many undocumented people there are in this country? 14 million. So they want to deport 20 million, but that's their target number. But there's only 14 million undocumented. What do you think that means? They're going to go after legal status. They're going to go after people who are presently documented. They're going to try to make them undocumented and deport them too.
People, the MAGA movement is in full swing. The Trump administration now is shipping out undocumented migrants like crazy. Latinos have been impacted from every corner. Before I get in the video, let me give credit to all the persons' video that I've compiled here. People, let's ride into the deportations.
Mass deportations have begun. 3 airplanes have left full of migrants back into 2 different countries. 2 of those planes went to Guatemala. They landed. The one going to Mexico, the Mexican president is not allowing this plane to land. It is a military aircraft full of migrants, and the Mexican president, she is saying, no way, these people are not coming back to this country. Is she saying this because she's mad at Trump? Because Trump has been calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and also he's saying he's going to place tariffs on this country if they don't abide by his rules? I don't know, but regardless, she herself let millions of migrants come into Mexico, cross freely into America. We couldn't say anything about that. They all were allowed to come in. But as now Trump has become president, he's starting to send migrants back to the country that they came from. And Mexico is saying, hey, they're not coming here. Do not land the plane here. Are other countries going to do the same thing? We know Venezuela, it's going to be hard to send the migrants back to Venezuela. Are other countries going to do that too? They're not going to accept the people who fled from those countries.
To the Latinos for Trump crowd who voted Republican this year, I am very confused. Trump wants to get rid of birthright citizenship, meaning that if you were born in this country but your parents were not, especially if they were undocumented, you no longer have citizenship. Hello? What? Why would any of us want that?
We didn't even get 24 hours, not even 24 hours. And amongst all the executive orders that were signed today by President Trump was one called Protecting and Defining the Value of American Citizenship, whatever that means. And this is the one that is going to end birthright citizenship. So let's talk about it. I do want to first point out that if you were to read the language of this order, it totally doesn't make any sense. Number one, they start out the order by saying that the 14th Amendment does guarantee birthright citizenship to those born in the U.S. that are underneath the jurisdiction of the United States. And then it goes on to say, however, this does not mean that it applies to everyone. And basically, this is the part where they go on to say that birthright citizenship does not apply to those who are born to persons that the U.S. does not have jurisdiction over. And they go on to make another nonsensical additional argument about how if you are a non-citizen or here on a visa, a temporary visa, the U.S. does not have jurisdiction over you. Ergo, this is why you can't have birthright citizenship to persons born of these people. However, just want to point out for a second how little sense this makes, because by its own argument, if the U.S. government does not have jurisdiction over persons who are non-citizens or persons who are here on a temporary basis, then why do we have these immigration laws that punish and violate and hold persons who are non-citizens or undocumented or here temporarily to the same laws and standards and apply immigration law on them, right? That is the sole domain of the federal government.
U.S.-bound migrants had their hopes destroyed after Trump signed a stack of immigration-related executive orders on his first day in office. Trump declared illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border a national emergency, making it possible to station military troops there. He designated drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and he even moved to end birthright citizenship rights for people born in the U.S. to parents living in the states illegally. As Trump was being sworn in, an app launched by the Biden administration for asylum seekers to set up meetings with border agents was shut down, and even existing asylum claim appointments were canceled en masse.
Yo sí entiendo que pues hayan cancelado la aplicación, va. Pero pienso de que las citas no deberían haber sido, porque hay muchas personas que realmente sí lo necesitamos y que pues viajamos por motivos bastante difíciles, que casi todos creo que pasamos por muchas cosas así cuando venimos de nuestro país.
Una de las tristezas más grandes de que ha tenido mi vida primero porque he sufrido mucho para estar aquí donde estoy, este suelo que estoy pisando.
Despite the crackdown, a migrant caravan set off from southern Mexico, bound for the U.S.-Mexico border.
Hay que seguir hacia adelante, no nos dejemos llevar por lo que dice la gente, por lo que digan las personas, si lo cierran, no lo cierran, ya veremos ya arriba, en la parte del norte.
And not only those on their way to or at the border are facing a changed reality now. Around 11 million migrants living in the U.S. illegally fear mass deportations. With Trump in office, their futures suddenly look less certain.
Although Trump said he was going to do it, it's part of his mandate, a lot of innocent people are getting caught up in the dragnet.
I've been crying so much because my fiance is an immigrant. And every time he goes out, I'm just so nervous. And it's so hard. You know, I knew this day was gonna come.
I really feel compelled to just put a piece of my mind out there. Whoever watches, whoever cares. But this whole deportation, immigration topic that everyone's been talking about, is just absurd. This is just crazy. I remember this happening like a couple years back. I was younger, I'm 31 now, and I feel like it wasn't as bad as it is right now. I'm so grateful for all the people like working in hospitals that are helping the Hispanic community, same as the cops, and same as other people in different businesses. But just how there are a lot of people helping now more than ever, there's so many other people that are going against the Hispanic community at this time. I just saw the thing that legit broke me, was learning that in Oklahoma, kids that are immigrants and that their parents are immigrants, they aren't going to be able to go to school anymore. That to my core, because whenever I came here, I was in 2nd grade. I didn't know any English. I knew I was different, and I knew I had to like work twice as hard as everybody else to be better, because I knew I was just different, right? And that's why I worked so hard in not trying to have an accent or whatever, to learn really perfect English, so they wouldn't be able to differentiate me, or what is that word? I can't even think about it. Like, they wouldn't be able to tell I was different. And just to know that now they're targeting the kids, they can't even go to daycares now, like, that's what hurts me. If my mom was like, sorry baby girl, like, ya no puedes ir a la escuela, like, I couldn't even imagine. It's just so ugly. And the saddest thing is that Latinos voted for this to happen.
Latinos for Trump, it is time to embrace the consequences of your actions. I've always been a firm believer of fighting fire with fire. If somebody goes low, I'll go lower. Now, with that being said, I know for a fact that most Latinos for Trump have undocumented family members, whether that be their parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, etc. So if you know of a Latino who voted for Trump, I urge you to call this number and report said family members. It's time that these Latinos for Trump get a taste of their own medicine and a taste of poetic justice. Now, I know what you may be thinking, Angel, this is extreme, and I agree, but extreme problems call for extreme solutions. And unfortunately, many innocent people are going to be affected by this, but you can't be that innocent if you raised a Latino for Trump. And before all of the Latinos for Trump come at me all angry, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You should be happy. Let me see that smile. But there you have it, guys. Once again, there is that number. You know what to do. It's time that these Latinos for Trump learn the hard way. But
my fear is that I'll get deported to a country that I don't know.
Camila Ruilova Bustamante. She came across the border as a 7-month-old baby with her mother and grandmother. 23 years later, she's still not been able to get the paperwork she needs to be legal.
Threat of deportation is imminent.
How frightened are you? What's your fear?
Having been here since I was 7 months old, my biggest fear, I think, would be that my family is torn apart.
We tell her story to voters, Trump voters, just an hour outside of DC to see if there was any empathy for Camila. And there was some, but not much.
There's going to be sad stories.
She might be among them.
She might be among them. I don't know how it's all going to plan out. I would love to see, like, she came at 7 months old. It's not her fault she was here illegally, you know?
Her mum is with her, by the way, and is also still undocumented.
Well, her mom should go home at least, at the very least.
Others had less empathy.
Send her home. I mean, let her figure out how to get legal. We just got to get control over the border and know who's coming in here.
Did you vote for Trump?
I did.
It was one of the reasons because of immigration.
Yes. Yes. My family did it the right way. So why not go down the path of actually becoming official?
People, drop your comments. Tell me what you think. Will these deportations impact the price of food and houses? Let me know what you think. And in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
My dad got deported, and this is how it affected my life. He was in prison for 11 months before he got sent back to Mexico. I can still smell the jail visiting room and the food vending machines they have to this day, especially when I'm having a horrible moment. I just get that whiff up my nose, and it's the worst feeling ever. I would hate going to visit my dad because I'm like, there's no way this is real. Like, there's no way. My mom had to get me and my siblings, and we had to move to Mexico. She had to sell our house and all of our belongings, and I saw the huge toll it took on her. My siblings are citizens, but they never got to learn English. I moved back to the US to live with my aunts and uncles, but I never got to have a childhood with my parents. I don't know what it's like to live with parents and siblings. Completing my FAFSA was hell. It's so many little things, but honestly, my heart goes out for anyone who has lost their parents to deportation.
The impacts of mass deportation on the cost of food in this state, in this nation, are off the charts. This is serious business. When you look at farm workers, the last estimate, roughly half are undocumented. Close to 90% have been in the state for years and years and years. They're not going back and forth. No state more impacted. Construction industry. Nationwide, we estimate 13% of the folks out there are undocumented. We know in states like California, it's significantly higher. The impact to housing costs. This is serious business.
One of my clients was picked up and placed in deportation proceedings in West Texas. He is undocumented. His wife is a U.S. citizen, and they had their small U.S. citizen children in the backseat of the car. He was pulled over for a lane change issue, and the police asked him his immigration status. When he said he was undocumented, the police called ICE, who came and took him away, took him in for processing, and placed him in deportation proceedings. So there's a few things to note about this that I think can be useful for other people. The first is, if you're in this situation and there's someone in the car who is a U.S. citizen who knows how to drive, they should always be the driver. The undocumented person should ideally not be the driver. Secondly, if the police are asking about immigration status, you should decline to answer that question and say, I'm sorry, but I respectfully don't want to answer questions about my immigration status. I can identify myself to you so that you can check to see if I have a warrant, but I don't want to discuss my status. If you ID yourself, you should do it with a U.S. ID if you have one. If you don't have one, sometimes you can get an ID at a library that has your photo, and it can demonstrate your name and your photo and your address and all of that. If you don't have a document, that just give your name, your address, and your date of birth, but don't talk about your immigration status or where you're from or where you came or anything like that. We all have to be vigilant, and the immigrants themselves right now have to know how to assert their rights in these interactions.
So Mexico is telling Trump, no, we will not accept your deportation flights. Apparently on Thursday, 2 Guatemala-bound Air Force C-17s took off with 80 passengers apiece on it. Then a third flight was supposed to be taking off bound for Mexico, but it never left because Mexico said that they would not accept it. Now, Mexico did not give a specific reason as to why, but a lot of people are assuming that it's because Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Donald Trump are starting to have tensions rise between them, particularly with the 25% tariffs that he's threatening to put on Mexico and the fact that she does not agree with his unilateral deportation immigration policies. But here's what we know. Flying deportees into a foreign country requires that country's consent, and Mexico said, no, we do not consent. Now, both the Mexican government and the White House were reached out to for comment. Neither one of them responded to comment, but it's definitely something that we need to watch because this could cause tensions between U.S. and Mexico relations to rise, and that wouldn't necessarily be a good thing given that they are one of our biggest trade partners.
Huge breaking news right now. Colombia's president says that the country will reject any and all deportation flights of migrants back to Colombia from the United States of America. Gustavo Petro, Colombia's president, just made this announcement in a new Twitter post, and not enough people are talking about it. He said that the United States cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals He said that Washington must develop a protocol that treats migrants with dignity. And before I continue, because TikTok is acting up, I want you to know that I'll be on Instagram, YouTube, Substack, and Snapchat. They're all linked to my bio if this app ever goes away. Colombia isn't the only country that has kind of attacked the United States for these deportation flights. Mexico on Friday refused a similar flight to land in the country. And Brazil's foreign ministry says that it will demand explanations from the United States government over the, quote, degrading treatment of Brazilians on a deportation flight. Latin American countries are literally standing up to cause problems for the Trump administration right now.
For the countries like Mexico and Colombia, do you believe that if they keep refusing these undocumented, that Trump gonna put tariffs on those countries?
And if you voted for Trump, please forget about El Salvador too. Forget about our beaches. Forget about La Libertad, Misata, El Zonte, Cuco, La Barra de Santiago. Forget about surfing here. You have enough coastline of your own. I'm pretty sure that the waves in North Carolina and Virginia Beach are awesome. Go surf there. Forget about pupusas, riguas, elotes locos, cocos helados, mango tierno. Go back to Whole Foods. Forget about coffee for that matter, unless you're growing your own. And please, 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 forget about purchasing real estate in El Salvador. You're only helping prices go up. Remember that the vast majority of Salvadorians only make $365 a month. And that's the reason some of them are going to the United States trying to make a better living. So please forget about purchasing here your summer homes. You're only making prices go up, making it even harder for the Salvadorians who are here and the ones that are going to have to come back to purchase their own homes. Please, if you voted for Trump, forget about El Salvador.
Mexican citizens will need a visa to come to Canada or obtain a valid electronic travel authorization if they hold a valid U.S. non-immigrant visa or have held a Canadian visa in the past 10 years and are traveling by air on a Mexican passport. We have seen exponential growth in asylum claims, particularly from Mexican nationals in the last year. Given the relationship that we have with Mexico, it is something that could not be taken precipitously. This clearly was not done in time, or the measures proposed are ones that couldn't have been put in place in time really to stem the flow.
Canada is a signatory to multiple refugee conventions, which means that people fleeing persecution and asylum should be able to come here and claim that protection and asylum in Canada. What the Canadian government is doing, they're using this visa process to assess if you are a refugee or you're not a refugee. What they should be actually doing is these people claiming refuge, they should be able to apply here, or there should be a system for them to be able to apply from Mexico. I also work with Mexican farm workers that come here 5, 10, 20, 30 years that have been coming here to grow our food. They tell me every day about the inhumane labor and living conditions that they have to go through. They have to leave their families in Mexico, and not having full and permanent status often prevents them from speaking up about these conditions. What this tells us is that the Canadian government wants to keep people in this temporary cycle of exploitation, making people work here without access to full rights and services.
Why do Mexican visas with Canada have anything to do with the Americans? Well, they do have a lot to do with the fears about organized crime and people smuggling. The other essential politics here, though, has to do with the provinces, specifically the province of Quebec. That is true that Quebec has been receiving a disproportionate number of those claiming asylum. Quebec's point is that until those claims are resolved, either successfully or not, they are responsible for things like education, housing, looking after people in the meantime. And the consensus in Quebec is that this is not sustainable. And indeed, when it comes to claims by Mexicans, 60% are rejected. They are actually economic migrants, people who are trying to come for other reasons rather than what asylum is supposed to be for.
Canada is preparing for a rise in migrants at its southern border after U.S. President Donald Trump promised to remove millions of undocumented people from the United States. Many of these people may try to come to Canada looking for safety. In recent years, thousands have crossed into Canada, often through a spot called Roxham Road in Quebec. If those crossing claim asylum, the RCMP cannot send them back to the United States. Instead, their claims are entered into a system which is already stretched, with people waiting nearly 4 years for their cases to be processed. As winter nears, the journey is also becoming dangerous with freezing temperatures and rough terrain, conditions that have, sadly, taken lives before. Quebec, the province that is likely to see the most new arrivals, is warning that it's not prepared to help so many people alone.
Canada has always been a neutral and safe haven. However, Canada is overwhelmed now with new immigrants, refugees, and undocumented. Do you believe many undocumented migrants gonna come north to Canada? And if that happens, how will Canadians deal with it? On that note, JamCan is out. And this is a serious matter about undocumented. We're talking about. It's serious, people. It is very serious. See you in the next video.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.